Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Scorpio energy. I did do your reading earlier, but I didn't have any sound and I plugged in my phone to the microphone, I plugged the cord into the phone, but there was no microphone, and so that made it had no sound. So I didn't want to just read the reading from it being on the table. It just kind of felt like it was a sign, or it just doesn't come out as organically, so we're redoing it. Apparently that wasn't the reading, so we will do it again. And we're going to do a Scorpio reading, but like usual, we're going to kind of read it from a couple different perspectives because everybody's on the spectrum of how they harness their Scorpio energy. There's young people, old people, immature people, more emotionally mature people. Everybody's going to harness this energy differently in their Scorpio energy, kind of based on the lessons that they've learned in life. And so that's how we're going to read it. This might be something particularly going on in people who are Scorpio sun sign or have significant Scorpio placements, but it might just be what Scorpio energy itself at large is dealing with, and we all tap into Scorpio energy. Do we want to do more deep, meaningful relationships, or do we not? Do we have hope and faith and belief in love and in ourselves and in our dreams, or do we not? Would we rather live a more safe life, maybe a more superficial life, not do love, maybe make our life more about ourselves or these things of the world? You know, everybody's got free will. So we just need to listen to our intuition about the truth of where people are at in their life. And hopefully we've learned what kind of relationship dynamics and personality types and traits and characteristics we do like and we don't like. And hopefully we invest more of our time and energy and effort into people who we think kind of harness their Scorpio energy the same way as we do. So I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, which is the Star card, which is Aquarius energy. It has to do with what our dreams are, and if we look at life from a higher perspective, are able to keep things in perspective, if we are just more caught up in the worldly dream ourselves, these things of the world, or do we believe there's a higher purpose? Do we believe in a higher power? Do we not? At the end of the reading, we have the Wheel of Fortune. We're either going, the wheel is going to turn no matter what. We can make whatever decisions we want, and things will play out from there. Some people try to force the Wheel of Fate to go in their favor. The wheel moves in our favor when we act with character and integrity, when we're just, when we're fair, when we're making decisions from a balanced place, when we treat other people the way we like to be treated, and if we're going to get romantic relationships, it's from love. But there's always people who think they can make things go in their favor regardless. So what could be going on in Scorpio energy? We start out with the Knight of Cups, the 8 of Wands, the 10 of Wands. The 8 and the 10 of Wands can both talk about the fact that we'd like to move away from some things in our life for whatever reason. We'd like to move forward maybe in life differently, maybe keep moving forward with the things we're in, but there could be, if you're not someone who has hope and faith and belief in more than just being more about the world, people who were kind of really looking for a dream to come into reality, more based on love, those people might be moving away from those people. Because if they were to keep moving forward with those people, then we have the Judgment card. You know, you do have to take accountability for your actions, and you have to hold yourself accountable. And shadowy Knight of Cups can just be people, and shadowy fire sign energy can be, I just kind of want to move forward in this and kind of enjoy myself in it, and I don't want to be held accountable for my actions. I don't want things to change. The Knight of Cups and the Moon card are both Pisces energy, which can be within people where they kind of like the illusion. Can't we make it more about me? Can't we just make it about love? Can't we just keep doing things the way we've been doing it? Can't we make it more about these things of the world? Wanting to keep choosing the illusion. Let's pretend everything's great. Let's keep moving forward the way we are. Let's not be inspired to do things any differently. Oh gosh, we got a lot of Pisces. I think in the last one that I did for you that didn't work out, we had Virgo, and Virgo and Pisces are on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel, and it can be about trying to come into balance between the two. But we have another Pisces card of the Hangman. If people are more about themselves, about the world, not doing more deep, meaningful relationships, everybody has their way of viewing life. And the Hangman can talk about that people have a certain way of living life and viewing life. And even if they feel overwhelmed and even if they feel stuck, they're not interested in looking at life from any other perspective. That's when we can feel stuck. It's trying to get us to look at life from a different perspective. Like, and in order, the truth sets us free, and High Vibe Scorpio is about death and transformation. We go through a phase and a cycle of life. We're meant to learn these lessons. Both the 8 of Wands and the 10 of Wands are Sagittarius energy. That life is an adventure. We go through these phases of life. We're meant to learn lessons. We're supposed to see what worked and what didn't work. We're supposed to call judgment on things. Be enlightened to the truth. What worked, what didn't work. What were good ideas, what were bad ideas. What were good habits, what were bad habits. Who were nice and kind and friendly and supportive and encouraging people, and who weren't. But then we'd have to be illuminated to the truth. And some people, the moon can talk about fear. Some people have a lot of fear about looking at life differently. Some people are keeping the truth, because High Vibe Hangman is about being illuminated to the truth. And some people like to keep the truth hidden. And what they might like to keep hidden is their more authentic nature, because you either are really more authentically yourself in the world, you're either a bossy, controlling, prideful, egotistical, immature person, but you're not trying to hide the truth of it. Or you're a more high vibe person, but you're fearful of letting people know or just being open to love, right? Because you could just have fears about revealing your truth, that I could love someone or something, right? So people who are more fearful or caught up in illusion, love the beginning of relationships because that's great. But then I don't really want to look at life any differently. Let's just keep doing life the way we've been doing it. And partly because from their perspective, even if it is overwhelming, even if they feel stuck, that could be what makes them feel balanced within themselves. The Justice card is Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice. We'd all move forward in life differently, more hopeful, more believing, or more shadowy, if we thought that wouldn't destabilize us in a way. When we're ready to move forward in life differently, we will. But everybody could be doing what they think is just and fair. And life's about learning lessons. We'll move forward with some things that we think are just and fair. And judgment will go in our favor, I believe, if we're inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness. And we're offering love to ourselves, we're offering love to others. And in the Page of Wands, we kind of have that hopeful, believing spirit. That is how we are in flow, because life-giving energy at the big picture, kind of represented by God, shadowy energy that doesn't want to give birth to new things, kind of represented by the devil, Do I think you have to be religious? No, but it's a way for us to describe it. But we live in a world of duality where you have free will to make choices in life. If you choose this, you can't choose that. I can't, I can try to shove 2 cookies in my mouth at the same time, but then I don't really get to experience what one cookie tasted like versus the other cookie, right? And, sometimes we have to make decisions in life. Some people don't want to make decisions, or they might want to make a decision, but they're fearful of revealing their truth about what their dream would be. So those people might decide, I'm going to keep moving forward with whatever I'm currently invested in, whether it's my truth or not, because some people decided in the judgment card to create an illusion. Some people are going to and have been creating an illusion. Well, I felt stuck, or I do feel stuck. And some people even created an illusion that something they went to go get in was like their dream. Like, I could have taken a job that I really don't like. Created the illusion, it's so great, it's so wonderful. Could have gotten in a relationship, oh my goodness, this person is the love of my life. And why did they do that? Maybe there was something, maybe they did act, were too caught up in themselves, were too caught up in the world, and other people kind of moved away from them. And then they were kind of overwhelmed, and they didn't maybe want to take accountability for their actions. So in order to avoid having to take accountability for their actions, they could have decided, I'll create an illusion by moving forward in something else, and then I'll create the illusion, kind of like, I don't even care that other thing didn't work out. Look at me. I look like a shining star. I have a better job. I have a different friend. I'm in a different relationship. And some people think that is just and fair because in high vibe energy, you would be truthful, authentic. Shadowy energy is trying to create an illusion so people aren't illuminated to the truth. And some people either were kind of immature, kind of had illusions about what it meant to have a certain type of job or how to work together with people in a relationship. And they had some growing up to do, and they could have found it was kind of more, kind of like not being qualified for a job. Well, if you tried to go get in relationships with people that are more stable, grounded, mature than you are, you kind of went and got in a relationship that you weren't qualified for. And people can keep trying to, if you were to get in a relationship with people who they went through their own cycles of life, they kind of got out of being more about illusions about relationships, being more immature, being more about themselves, being more about the world. Those people did call judgment on themselves. That there's more to life than that, because if I just make myself more about me, or make these things of the world that I either want to indulge in to feel better, or make my life about status, ego, image, or me, I could end up, confused because I feel stuck. And pride comes before the fall. We all think we're so smart. We go do what we do and we think it's going to make us happy. And then we could feel kind of stuck. So then high vibe people kind of get inspired. I don't want to keep repeating an old pattern. And we'll all keep repeating an old pattern until we're kind of enlightened to the truth. And high vibe people looked at life from a higher perspective. And then they looked at things from the big picture and looked at their life, looked at everybody else, and it's kind of like, you know what, we've all got these lessons to learn. We can all get caught up in our fear, our insecurity, our ego, these things of the world, our more immature, indulgent nature, kind of let, oh my gosh, but I love them, kind of drive our life off into the ditch. And the whole thing is about getting more balanced. We go on this journey in life. We got lots of lessons to learn. We'll kind of drive our life off into the ditch in different ways, like I'm going to be defensive and live more from my mind than my heart. And then other aspects of my life kind of aren't very fulfilling because I made it so important that I be defensive. And that can be kind of shadowy Aquarius, shadowy, I suppose, Pisces, in a way where I'm so fearful of being hurt. Now I kind of went to the other extreme, right? And Scorpio can kind of be about extremes, kind of black and white thinking. And then hopefully, maybe as we learn some lessons in life, hopefully we realize there's this or there's that, and then there's all in the middle. Doesn't have to be this or that, or this is right and this is wrong. Kind of there's some give and take and some compromise, and some people could have a problem with that. They want to be in relationships, but they want to hide that they're kind of more stubborn or prideful or more about themselves, or kind of have a different objective. And they think they can keep hiding that. But the thing is, other people do connect in. Pisces is emotional water sign energy. Scorpio is emotional water sign energy. Over here we have Cancer, the third emotional water sign energy. Everyone can want to be in relationships and friendships, have a job. But do you just want any job, any friendship, any relationship? Some people almost will. If they're more immature and in their kind of fire sign energy within themselves, I just want to be in a relationship, indulge myself in a relationship. People, Pisces energy can talk about indulging in things emotionally. You can indulge in drugs, booze, gambling, sex, or relationships. Some people's vice isn't drugs or alcohol or food. It's kind of codependency to be in a relationship. I think it will make me feel better. We all like to be in friendships and relationships. But, are we not revealing the truth? Are we just moving forward with people just because we feel overwhelmed? Just because I want to indulge myself in a relationship? You can get in those relationships, and we maybe all have to various degrees for different reasons. But eventually, other people in our life would like it to probably be about love. Cancer energy is about self-love and home and family and stuff like that. And we can all get in relationships for whatever reasons we got in it. We were young, we were dumb, we were fired up, we were attracted, we wanted to be in a relationship, wanted a job, whatever. But there comes a time eventually where, we have to think about how we want to move forward, like next. We could have ended something, we move forward in something else. If we use that, we were initially drawn and attracted to people. And we're kind of drawn and attracted to people because in Pisces energy, there could be some issues kind of buried in our subconscious that we need to work through. And so then if we get in contact with certain people, they're kind of the right person to help us work through that issue. Does that mean they're the person we're supposed to stay with forever? No. But we maybe wouldn't have been ready for the people that are more aligned with our truth and our dreams until we had worked through some of those issues, right? But we can all have the best of intentions when we get in some relationships. But then as time goes by, are people willing to hold themselves accountable? While people were, generally if we're in something where we kind of are enjoying it and we're kind of inspired by it, do we use that environment to kind of work through some of those issues that might have bothered us in our past? So kind of so that we can be free of it, that if it was kind of having us tipped out of balance, there's a maximum of 10 in every suit. And if you're kind of really tipped out of balance in some way, the whole goal is to, when we're in a situation where we don't feel so overwhelmed, which is what that card can talk about, hopefully we use that supportive and encouraging friendships and workplaces and all that. Hopefully we do it to get more balanced within ourselves. But some people use relationships to feel more balanced within themselves because they're always more tipped out of balance. And that's people who are in much more codependent energy because it's, well, and I guess, we've all been there because I think for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we can be in pretty codependent energy, which just means we're kind of looking outside of ourselves for something to be the answer because we haven't learned to look within. And we haven't learned to love ourselves and be loving and encouraging and supportive to ourselves. And the whole thing is, one person could want to keep staying in more codependent energy because that helps them not feel overwhelmed, even though they might have a lot of things they keep hidden that bother them. But just being in the relationship makes them feel more balanced. But sometimes we get in these mismatched relationships, and the other person can have more hope and faith and belief and love. They could have been more immature, left some things, could have felt overwhelmed. But when we're in a loving and encouraging and supportive environment where, it gives us a place to get more balance within ourselves, we work through some of those things. Like, say something didn't work out. We were in something and we wanted a dream to come into reality, but it didn't work out that way. And some people moved on, and we could have been really overwhelmed because we thought, and then the moon can just be, we don't understand. And all that's overwhelming. And, we thought we knew the truth and we thought we were on the same page. And, Pisces energy, emotionally, it can talk about our dreams and our wishes and what we think would be emotionally fulfilling. And for a long time, we could have been in something where we thought we were all on the same page. Sometimes people just get caught up in their fear, and then they're afraid of moving forward in something. Like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I trust this person. I thought I believed in love, but now I don't know if I believe in love. Or I'm afraid other people will act more prideful or egotistical. I'm afraid someone will be wanting too much from me or something, right? So then some people could decide, I'm not going to keep investing in this. And then they could just think, without really questioning their fears that get them stuck. And sometimes people don't want to see the truth that they are kind of more stubborn or prideful or egotistical or have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, and they could kind of hide that they really do kind of think it should be more about them. Because high vibe people would know, if I want to be in a relationship with someone, I shouldn't have this illusion that is kind of more about me. I'm working with another person who has their own dreams, their own aspirations, things that they find emotionally fulfilling, and probably things that they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into in their own dreams. But some people can have their illusions that it's still secretly really supposed to be more about them. And if other people that they're in relationship with as time goes by they could kind of feel a little unloved in the relationship. Shadowy Scorpio can be people who create the illusion that they're more motivated and inspired to do justice and fairness and love, to step out of their comfort zone, to give birth to something new. But for some people, that was just all an illusion. I want to be in a relationship with someone. I want to have a new job. I want to find a new friend group. And in order to get you to keep moving forward with me, I need to hide that I might be more immature, more self-indulgent, have illusions about what relationships are, be really more about the ego or the image or the status of it. And you can move forward in relationships with people where it's more mismatched like that. And the high vibe people kind of feel like maybe it is more for the status or the ego or the image or the indulgence. And so it's like, I don't want someone to be in a relationship with me for that reason. High vibe Scorpio, I want a deep, meaningful relationship. High vibe Cancer, I want it where I offer you love, you offer me love. We're encouraging and supportive of each other. We try to see things from each other's perspective. We keep things in perspective so we don't get caught up in like our fear and shadowy, immature kind of more ways of being. Keep things in perspective, keep focused on the big picture, not getting caught up maybe in all the things that could go wrong versus all the things that could go right, and have some hope and faith. But some people could lack some hope and faith, and then if they're kind of not kind of more being, say initially someone really was kind of really everybody, high vibe people are very motivated to put in work and effort in a relationship to make it work, to make it seem balanced and loving and encouraging and all that. But, and that could be a person's natural way of being. They do put in a lot of work and effort. But if the other person likes that, wants to be in a relationship with someone who's like that, but that's not really the truth of who they are, there kind of gets to a place where, what do they say, like water finds its level. You're kind of looking, again, for a more balanced relationship. If I'm loving and encouraging and supportive, can I be a loving, encouraging, supportive person for a really long time? Yeah, because it's just naturally who you are and you're able to refill your cup. But eventually it can kind of get kind of tiring. And you could kind of feel like some people are kind of immature and kind of indulging themselves in the relationship. And I would like more equal give and take. And I kind of feel like other people could have some other objectives as to why they're in it. And I kind of think the Justice card is Libra energy, air sign energy. I view it as the King of Swords. And Aquarius is air sign energy. And it's all kind of this idea of like, well, what's your truth and what's your dream and how are you expecting this to move forward? And what was the driving factor, like the truth? What was the truth that you view that keeps motivating you to want to keep moving forward in it? And what's my truth as to why I want to keep moving forward in it? And for high vibe people, it would be truth and love and justice and fairness and wanting a dream to come into reality. And being just, fair, loving, looking at things from other people's perspective, keeping things in perspective. And again, other people, though, that's not their truth. But I want to be in a relationship with someone like you. That's great. That helps me stay more balanced. It makes me look like a more just and fair and stable and grounded and loving person. But they don't ever end up loving themselves and kind of being more emotionally invested to work through those issues within themselves, to be a more balanced person within themselves. So it's like, I want to stay out of balance. It's great that you're balanced and I want to move forward with you. And it's like, but it's like a mismatched relationship. And really, some of the people that are looking to other people to kind of be the answer to their problems, they maybe really haven't even figured out, what really is their dream, because they could be operating from such a place of overwhelm, mentally, emotionally, ego, status, image, whatever it is that kind of overwhelms them. That and some people, their comfort zone is to always stay in their comfort zone. And they really don't like change. Scorpio is fixed sign energy, and some people could be more so really kind of aligned with their more fixed sign energy, which is Scorpio, Taurus, Virgo, no, not Taurus, and Aquarius. I have a certain way of looking at life. I have a certain way that I like to move forward in life. And I'd really like things to keep moving that way. I don't want anything new. I like doing it the way I do it. But the problem is, the world keeps moving forward. Things change. The world isn't the way the world was when we were a kid. It's not the way it was when we were 8, when we were 18, when we were 28. The world keeps moving. And for some people, that could really be overwhelming because they really could have a hard time. Again, they have a very fixed way of looking at life, and their comfort zone is to keep doing things that way. Pisces energy is that aspect, our emotional aspect. Cancer helps us get into something. Scorpio is kind of what we get involved, the emotional water sign, I believe, that we get more aligned with when we're in the midst of something. And then Pisces is what helps us transition from like one phase of life that we thought was living the dream to kind of see that it's gotten kind of overwhelming. Like if I keep trying to be like a 15-year-old all my life, it's going to start to feel overwhelming. And I reluctantly might make some changes in my life that I really don't want to make because I really like living my life like that. And 15 is just a metaphor for whatever it is of a way of living life that people like to live. But other people are going through these cycles of life. That's kind of what the Wheel of Fortune talks about too. We live our life a certain way. We kind of view life that way. But then we could kind of know that the only reason we don't move forward in life differently is kind of our fear, and we're kind of a little bit in our ego and afraid of believing in ourselves. And then if we harness that, if we closed out a cycle, and the tens can talk about closing out a cycle, then we'd come out with that new Page of Wands energy, being inspired that I think I can go to that next phase of life. I think I can, just like all the things that we did when we were young. I learned how to drive. I moved out of home. I got my first job. Then I got my second job or my third job and my fourth job. It's kind of like building up life experience. And some people have more experience in different areas of their life than some other people. But some people don't like, it's just not how they want to harness their fire sign energy, maybe. I kind of like the illusion. I like these things. I like these things of the world. I like for people to maybe even not know me that well in a way. Keep things hidden, because Scorpio too can be about keeping your more authentic emotional nature kind of hidden beneath the surface, because Scorpio is about our more emotional, our more emotionally complex nature, right? And some people don't even like to connect in with themselves emotionally. because it's just confusing, We have all these contradictory thoughts and feelings, and it can be confusing. So some people decided I don't even want to emotionally invest in myself more emotionally. I just might be someone who kind of rides on the surface, shadowy Scorpio, kind of more superficial and shallow. I'll use my emotions when I need to. I'll use my charm or my looks or my sexuality or anything else I got, to help move things forward in a relationship. But I don't want to take more creative, inspired, that spark of life kind of way of being. I don't want to do it. And because some people didn't want to do that, because then they would have to. It's kind of like letting your more hopeful, believing inner child out to play in the world. Well, they could get hurt out there. Somebody could be mean. you know, they could go profess their love and someone could reject them. I am not going to let them out. I am not going to emotionally invest to get the justice I deserve, to be more balanced, to kind of love myself and my more hopeful, believing nature that I can do it. And instead, I'm going to call judgment that is all an illusion. All that can do is maybe get me stuck, get me caught up in illusion, and just thinking love is an illusion. And some people who have kind of discredited their more emotionally intuitive, loving nature, like, nope, I have free will. I could choose you to align with you. Nope, nope, I think that's just an illusion. People just get themselves stuck in situations doing that. To a degree, was that a dream I had? Yep, I called judgment on it. From now on, I am going to go enjoy myself in the world. And of course, part of enjoying that might be, being in relationships with people. But I'm going to hide that I have my own way of viewing life. And if the people I get in a relationship with kind of don't love and believe in themselves enough to stand up for what they believe in, well, then I guess we'll just do the relationship the way I want to do it. And they'll stay in it. And sometimes that's what shadowy people are counting on. You can have shadowy people at a workplace. No, I know you people are kind of more gung-ho and kind of like people to put in work and effort. And yeah, that's not really me. Or again, I want to move forward with you. And if all these things work out, it's good for my ego, my image, my status. It seems like I have justice in the world. I'll stay. But I'm only going to create the illusion that I'm really a more just and fair and inspired person at this job. But so long as you don't want to listen to your more just, fair, balanced, hopeful, believing nature to tell me you're moving on without me, well, then I guess I get to keep moving forward with you now, don't I? So, when people are more immature, more bossy, more controlling, more egotistical, more self-centered, more whatever, they're counting on, that's what they're standing up for every day by their actions. That's what they're standing up for. That is their truth. They think it's just and fair. And so long as the more high vibrational loving people, which it can kind of be trying to take advantage of loving people, right? And maybe at one time these people were taken advantage of, and so they made the free will choice somewhere along the way, maybe even when they were a child. That's it. I kind of see how the world works. Loving people kind of get hurt, get manipulated, get disappointed by other people who are more manipulative, deceptive, bossy, controlling, stubborn, have a certain status or image in the world. Huh. Yep. I'm going to give up my dreams about love, and I am going to align with my more worldly, shadowy nature. And if there's people in the world that are naive and gullible enough, they're going to get used and abused by someone. It's going to be me, I guess, you know? Other people decided, could have went through similar situations, but that's the thing. We all have free will, and it's really kind of unknown. You know, everybody has the seeds of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil planted within them. Our shadowy nature wants to be in the driver's seat of our life. It doesn't want our more hopeful, believing, loving nature in control. We want to go live our life, and we really don't care, though, if you end up in the gutter at the end. We're going to lick our fingers and say, damn, that was great. It's our high vibe nature also wants to be in the driver's seat of our life and put our more immature, shadowy nature in the back seat like we would a small child. And to get justice in our life, we offer love to our more immature, shadowy nature. To temper it and tell it, we already tried it your way. That didn't work. I was illuminated to the truth. I needed to grow up and heal and mature myself, and I needed to call judgment. You know, if I want to get justice, I can't keep investing my time, energy, and effort into my more immature ways or other people that keep showing me that they want to keep investing in what we could consider more immature ways, bossy ways, prideful ways, whatever. So then we decide to get justice in our life. We kind of see through, we call judgment on the illusion. For one, that I don't have to be enlightened to the truth. We do have our dualistic nature. They do battle within ourselves. We can juggle back and forth, and then our life will go over here and our life will go over there. And sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it won't be good. But when we want to quit repeating, having things go round and round, where we move forward in a way we think things are going to go in our favor, and then it didn't, and we're overwhelmed, and judgment was called, and then we still don't want to see the truth. So we keep thinking we know best, and we keep indulging our more immature nature or indulging other more immature people in a way. And we're not requiring people and myself to a higher standard. If I keep doing what I've always done, I'm going to keep getting what I've always gotten. If I keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome, but I keep doing the exact same thing over and over, well, that's the definition of insanity. I need to work through, are there these things of the world? Am I attracted to people? Do I want these certain things of the world? Yes. But I can't let my fear, my insecurity, my pride, my ego, my want for certain things kind of cloud my judgment. And our more shadowy nature is always trying to cloud our judgment. Other people who want to be in a relationship with us sometimes try to cloud our judgment, to manipulate people so they don't see the truth. So as some of you are moving forward, you're always going to have people around you that are in more shadowy, immature energy, right? And they want to maybe be the next person to indulge in a relationship or a friendship with you, or kind of get to know you at work, but it could all be for ulterior purposes. So it's to offer people truth and love, treat people the way you like to be treated, but keep listening to your intuition, keep maintaining balance within yourself. Shadowy people as a way to try to control and manipulate you sometimes will do things or say things that are like, what? It kind of makes you, it's confusing, because if that's not the type of person you are, you don't understand it. And you don't understand why they're acting like that. Don't let it get you stuck, because that's sometimes what people are trying to do. And sometimes people who were moving forward with you will not move forward with you anymore, like call judgment on you. Part of it can be because you're loving yourself, you're believing in yourself, believing in your dreams, and maintaining balance. And you maybe weren't doing that before. And they liked the old you because then you were kind of in the same energy as they were. And now, if you're maintaining balance and loving yourself, you've gotten out of a more codependent energy. You could have offered them truth and love, but they would have to do this work within themselves. And some people are like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to see the truth. I don't want to see the truth about some people in my life who I'm moving forward with that I want to have move forward with me. And I might not want to see the truth about myself. Could I want you to move forward with me too? Yes, but you have to quit loving yourself and believing in yourself. And if you do that, well, then I'll decide to create an illusion about why I acted that way, to reconcile things with you, offer you a cup of love again, but we know how this relationship works, right? Let's create the illusion of how wonderful everything is. Let's hide the truth, maybe about what did happen, or the truth of who I really am. And if you decide you don't love and believe in yourself, and you can't have your dream come into reality with someone else, and some of these people are caught up in the illusion of themselves, and they're kind of full of themselves, and they think you think that, but some of you did this work within yourself, and you realized this person is acting immature, they're unjust, they're unfair, they're bossy, they're controlling, they're prideful, they're egotistical, all these things that isn't how they present themselves to the world. But as I got to know them, I kind of found out the hidden truth. And I kind of realized my dream can't come into reality with them anyway because their truth is different. Their dream and their idea of the dream relationship is different. And what they think is just and fair is different. And when they feel stuck or they feel confused, they could take this more immature, hurtful action. Shadowy Scorpio can be kind of more like, I'm not going to offer you love, and I'm going to maybe be kind of cold or distant or kind of intimidating or controlling. And it's all a tactic to try to get you to do the relationship the way they want. When are we going to stand up for our truth? And that our dream, as long as they're in that mindset and look at life that way, or look at relationships that way, or that is their kind of emotional maturity level, they're not someone I can have that type of relationship with, where I can let my more hopeful, believing, loving nature out, because they kind of take advantage of it or abuse it. And I need to love me. And I need to stand up for my more loving, authentic nature. And I want to be in relationships with people who have learned some of the same lessons I've learned in life, who do realize that if I want to be in a more just and fair and inspired and loving and authentic, that's like the pages being authentic, relationship, I need to be that kind of person. And I need to call judgment on my more immature nature, being more about myself, more caught up in these other things. You know, and high vibe energy is a balance of things. We all want some of these things of the world. But do we want some of those things of the world so badly that we're willing to give up love? Some people are, and that's what some of the shadowy people are doing. They could have been trying to manipulate more loving people, but eventually the loving people moved on. So they're now maybe going to have to be in a relationship with someone like themselves. Someone else who doesn't really love themselves, but is willing to create an illusion and wants to be in a relationship. And then together they can maybe work through, why do I try to manipulate and control someone? Why do I stay in relationships with, and they could already know, they could hide theirs better than some other people. They could present themselves as more stable, grounded, whatever, balanced than they really are. Other people who might be willing to stay in a relationship, maybe not so much. So then it can be a little more overwhelming. Even though they both could be kind of immature, they're kind of immature in different ways. And then that's the hard thing too, wherever we are on the spectrum of learning lessons, getting in relationships with people who are more immature, more bossy, more controlling, whatever, we've all got to be willing to learn lessons in life. And if two shadowy people are in a relationship, they both might be hiding that they're kind of a little bit more about themselves. And then maybe one of them will decide, shoot, I'd maybe like to stay in this for the way it looks or whatever. But I think this person's a little more immature or bossy or whatever. And of course, they think that's just and fair, just like the other people view themselves as being just and fair. And then, it's always trying to find kind of people who are more on the same page. And lately, in some of the readings, kind of the way it's kind of come up, is that, we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and what our truth isn't. But sometimes we can stay in situations that we really should get out of. And some people could be doing that right now. They see other people moving forward. They love themselves to kind of realize that they were in some mismatched situations. And they maybe haven't gotten to that point where, they're more focused on the fact that this seems just and fair in some way. But they could feel like they're missing an opportunity in love. Because it is, you're either in a relationship building a foundation from love, and that's how you build a solid foundation, or you're kind of building it on some of these other reasons. And then as time goes by, you could kind of feel like, why didn't I believe in myself more? Why didn't I think I was capable of that? Why didn't I go get in some other jobs where I could have increased my skill level more? Or why didn't I hang out with some other different people or whatever, And another thing that just popped in my head, it's the subtle difference between people. High vibe people can think those things too. But high vibe people offer the people in their life love and encouragement to keep moving forward with them. There can come a time, they did try to do the just and fair thing, and the other people kept not wanting to deal with the truth and decided to be more unwilling to go with the flow. That's when some high vibe people move on from jobs, friendships, and relationships. I think the wheel of fate goes in their favor because they acted with character and integrity. Does that mean everything will be easy? No, it could be really overwhelming. But I'm not going to stay in a situation that is unjust and unfair where people are hiding the truth and acting in these more shadowy ways. And I think eventually judgment will go in your favor. And I think for the other people, because it kind of made me think of like a midlife crisis, sometimes there's people who are a little bit more about kind of social climbing. And it's like, well, gee, I kind of moved forward with this person, and that probably kind of confused people about the truth of who I was, or maybe made them think that I have more traits, qualities, or characteristics than I really do have. But it's overwhelming moving forward with these people who are more, high vibe than me, because really I'm not. But I think I've created a good enough illusion that I think if I don't move forward with the high vibe people in my life and let them go, I think because of this illusion I've been able to create about who I am, in the same way almost with the job, right? If some people can kind of be a little bit of a slug at work. The longer they can stay at that job, though, the better it can look for their image and their status to be able to go get a different job. And they might know enough, at whatever their field of is. I mean, they could be an accountant, they could be a CNA, they could be a nurse, whatever, a cook. But it kind of looks good, right? It could look like, wow, they were like at a prestigious restaurant. They really must know their stuff. Well, you can always be like a really good waitress or a really kind of lame waitress, right? But if the other people, because of their own circumstances, feeling overwhelmed, weren't willing to call judgment on some people, they kind of went along with the illusion, even though they could have felt stuck. And sometimes people do that in relationships. Well, for the people who didn't have good intentions, who could have hid the truth, kind of maybe a little full of themselves, I don't want to see the truth that maybe I could heal and grow and mature myself, and I might have loving and encouraging people in my life, but really, I might be more about some other things than love maybe isn't as important. I might be more about me or my ego or my image. I'll let those people go. And I think there's other people in the world, either from my past who might communicate with me or people that I meet. And it's kind of like social climbing. And some people really thought they could force the wheel of fate to go in their favor, that judgment would go in their favor. Again, kind of pride comes before the fall. We think we're so smart. But they're hiding the truth. And they try to go move forward in something else. But there's a higher truth at play in the world. And the whole thing is, again, people were given the gift of intuition. All these cards here, kind of the watery, fiery energy, could talk about intuition. The problem is other people do listen to their intuition. And also other people can move forward with them and think, oh my gosh, this is like the employee of my dreams or the person of my dreams. You are just what I was looking for. And they move forward with it. And then they kind of come and to the same realization that some other people had. Some people just wear very good false masks and they're not who they think they are. And initially or for a while able to maintain this illusion, but you can't hide the truth forever. If you're more bossy, controlling, immature, stubborn, egotistical, self-centered, more about ego and image, eventually people will be able to kind of see the truth of it. They might not want to see the truth for quite a while because they want that dream to come into reality, just like we in certain situations. Pisces energy can talk about how we kind of want to be caught up more in the illusion because we don't want to believe the truth. And also, you kind of have that hopeful believing spirit, but eventually, we got to deal with the truth. And God will work with people's creative, inspired, intuitive nature to try to get them to see the truth, or something will happen that will kind of illuminate the truth, because it's like God shaking up the puzzle board, trying to get the mismatched pieces that are trying to stick together to get apart because it's not the right fit. But we can try to make things fit when it doesn't fit. So, high vibe people are investing in the encouraging, loving people in their life, listening to their intuition, not operating from their ego, making decisions on who those people are in their life and who those people aren't in their life, communicating their decisions to different people in a way just by action that you take towards people. Some of it could be more working through it in the energetic, This is a masculine figure. This is, and this is. You know, people have to do their own work, which the masculine figures can just represent how people are taking action in the world. Some people could communicate with some people, and some people could communicate with them. The Four of Cups can mean something's a missed opportunity. Like, well, you were doing what you were doing. I kind of moved on. And, you know, I kind of found people who are more on the same page as me. Or I've kind of worked through some issues. At one time, I might have wanted to hang out with certain people and do certain things. And, you know, it's just not my thing anymore. And I've kind of moved on. Other people are doing the work within themselves because they know some people aren't going to buy the illusion. If I'm not being truthful and authentic and loving, this isn't going to go anywhere. So they're kind of, some people could be doing some work to work through these issues within themselves about their fears of communicating with someone, that it would be different, it maybe would be out of their comfort zone. They have people they're used to kind of interacting with that have their own ways of being. They've had their own ways of being. You know, maybe really being in a relationship with someone they really could have their dreams come into reality, and they haven't worked with someone who's like that, you know, and it's all part of this progression in life. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy? And if there is people that don't make it through that transition phase, you know, for a while we can feel stuck. For a while we can listen to our intuition, could have communicated with different people, but then eventually our intuition tells us it's time to take that cup of love. They are where they are at. God will work with them. 4 major arcana cards here. God is always there working with people, but they have to kind of do this work. The truth sets you free to authentically live your life differently. And some people would like to do it, but they want to skip over this part. I was like, no, there's some issues buried beneath the surface that keep you stuck from believing in yourself and believing in your dreams and healing. And you need to do that work so you are enlightened to the truth and do look at life from a higher perspective if you want to be in a relationship with people who are more balanced, authentic, and loving. And because of that, some people could feel overwhelmed right now, and some of them are just going to decide to settle for the illusion. That would be what could have been very high vibrational, kind of aligned with truth and love. Instead, they're going to settle for the illusion of that. It looks good by worldly standards. It just might not be what they love, might not be a job they love, might not be a friendship group they love, it might not be a relationship that they love, but those people are willing to move forward with them because that's kind of where they're at too. And that would be a just and fair relationship. What's unjust and unfair is when high vibe people don't stand up for themselves, and someone who's more shadowy in some regard keeps you stuck in a relationship and stops you from moving forward because they're not ready to move forward, like ever, maybe. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy that they might not see coming up? Oh no, not Pisces, Scorpio. I wonder if Scorpio will come out in the... When we add the 1 cup to the 4 of cups, we get the 5 of cups. Working through regrets of the past, knowing we have the opportunity to look to the future and align with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and probably people in the world that are more encouraging and supportive and loving. So high vibe people are inspired to do this work within themselves so that they can move forward in life, to love themselves, give themselves the things that they wish other people would give them, so they get out of being in more codependent energy. The 2 of Wands. Why? Because of the 7 of Cups, which is Scorpio energy. So then we go from the 4 to the 7, it's kind of taking back the Three of Cups. And the Three of Cups can just be a way of working together with people. And there were some people we were working together with emotionally, taking that back out of love for ourselves. I'm just not going to keep investing my time, energy, and effort into people who aren't being authentic and truthful and mature and just and fair. I'm taking back the Three of Cups from them. And then doing that, it kind of tips you. I view the sevens as tipping you kind of more from more one way to the other way. You're more aligned with your more hopeful, believing, loving nature in your Scorpio energy, which all of this work then kind of makes you inspired. The Two of Wands, like the Star card, can be about believing in your dreams again. And when you do this work within yourself, we went from the 10 to the 1. When we complete a phase of life and learn the lesson we were meant to learn, then we get to drop the bird and have this new beginning in the 1 wand. And then we take action to start bringing that dream into reality. And now you're moving forward in life differently. And I think as people see you doing that, the Seven of Cups can be that you do have lots of options. People could view you as someone that they feel they could have their dreams come into reality. And some people are hiding that they feel stuck in what they're stuck in, but they didn't do that work to love themselves, and they didn't offer love, and they didn't maybe reach out. And so, you're not going to stay stuck forever. I'm going to keep moving forward. My dream can only come into reality with people who are willing to work together with me. So I'm going to work with the people who are working together with me and investing in me and being encouraging and supportive. What's coming up for the more shadowy people that they might not see coming? We have the Knight of Pentacles, the Justice, and the Page of Swords. Why? Because of the Chariot. So the shadowy people could harness their Virgo, their Cancer, their Libra, and in all three of their air sign energies of Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Gemini is about our dualistic nature. Aquarius is about kind of our dreams, and Libra can be about what we think is just and fair. The more shadowy people keep investing in this idea that it's more about moving forward in a way that makes them look like they're just and fair to try to get other people to move forward with them in a relationship. Like, you should be in a relationship with me if you want to look victorious or successful or look like you have justice in the world. Their own inner child nature is defensive to them. Their more hopeful, believing inner child nature is defensive to them. And the higher power of love is going to be a roadblock to them. They think their plans are going to work out. And it will work out if they're kind of in relationships with people who are more on the same page as them. They kind of keep investing in thinking it's just and fair to indulge their more immature way of thinking, logic, and reasoning, just presenting themselves as loving, but not really being more balanced and authentically loving. Or that people should want to, if they present themselves this certain way, people are going to want to get in a relationship and stay in a relationship with them. But some high vibe people, what they don't see coming is they've had some high vibe people in their life that harness high vibe, Virgo, Cancer, Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini, whose truth is love. And these people have been being authentic, telling them they love them and they want to work together with them, but they want to move forward in a more just and fair and balanced way than the other person. And the other person's like, nope, we have to do it my way, or I'm not going to move forward with you. And eventually the other people say, okay, I'm leaving. And I will go get in a relationship and work with other people, go get a different job, whatever. Would I have liked to have stayed here? Yes. But if that's not your truth, sometimes some of the shadowy people, again think, oh, I'll just go get someone who's more about these things. Well, it's harder to find, no matter how you live your life, it's hard to find someone who's on the same page as you. They could be more about the world, could be more superficial and shallow, could be in their own way kind of immature. Well, they go get in a relationship with someone who they think is like that too, and they could be. Some of those people, everybody has to give a little bit, right? And some people are quite kind of prideful and egotistical. It's like, I don't have any lessons to learn. If you are not willing to kind of indulge me in my more stubborn, prideful, egotistical way of being, well, then you can go. And for some people are just kind of full of themselves, thinking, well, I was in relationships with other loving and encouraging people, and some of those people kind of got full of themselves and thought it was because of them. But the people in their life that were loving and encouraging, that could be quite immature and having some growing up to do, and maybe you think you're the center of the universe. The loving and encouraging people in their life were loving and encouraging because that's the type of people they are. But some people took that as a sign, not seeing things clearly, that, oh my goodness, I must be like God in people's life. People just want to love me and be in relationship with me. Oh my gosh, I think I'm going to ignore this person. I don't know. Maybe they don't have enough. I don't know if I'll get enough of the things that I want with them. And I'm going to go in my illusion out there in the world to see who else wants to love me. And they could have found out that some other people also kind of found them prideful or immature or whatever. Or they got in a relationship with someone who kind of views life the same way, but they could be more stubborn, So anyway, I think they'll always have some high vibe people in their life that aren't going to stay in relationship with them anymore. And the people who are more willing to stay in a relationship might be more codependent themselves. And if this does, by worldly standards, this looks very victorious and successful, they'd maybe stay in it. Even if they feel it's not love, it looks like love, it quacks like love, but it's more in shadow, the illusion of looking like it's love. And for some people, that is what they want because they're just kind of more emotionally immature people that don't really want to do a deep, meaningful relationship. And they are more about the ego and the image and the status. And for them, they could feel like that's victorious and successful. It's just that some of the other people that have been in a relationship with them and were kind of moving forward with them in a relationship, they felt stuck and it wasn't their truth. So it's like, well, you do that with whoever wants to do that with you. I want to be in a relationship with people who are more inspired by love. So there you go, Scorpio. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.